the only videos we got are the ones on the ground by the Venezuelans recording what happened on the scenes. Already, it seems like there's already a lot more boats and a lot more planes than were actually used in reality. But I could be wrong here. I don't know what any of this stuff means. Okay, I don't know what a B2 or whatever the fuck they're talking about is. I was just like, okay, that's a plane, that's a helicopter, that's a boat, that's a gun. It goes bing bing. But seems like there's more than already was in reality.
200 kilometers. These surface-to-air missile systems have the best chance.
What's up, Mango? How you doing?
Back on the strike force. Taking a look now at the elevation map. All Venezuelan sand batteries are optimally positioned for radar line of sight, high up on the hills and ridges overlooking the targets that.
Oh yeah, me too. I'm happy as fuck. Although, you know what sucks about all this, honestly, and it's a personal thing to me, right? You know what sucks about this? You know what kind of hurts about this whole thing? You want to take a guess? Oh, brother. I mean, I'm proud of my boys. I'm real proud of my boys. They followed the plan to the letter. What's up?
I completed a mission. Yay!
Good job. You having fun? Okay. No guesses? Well, anyway, let me know if you're still there. Nah? Do you remember when I spoke of where I was in about 2018-ish? Ah, okay, I got you. But do you remember that? I was there in 2018. That's what kind of hurts about it. We were there in 2018 and we were basically getting everything ready and we got pulled out. So now me seeing them go and get to do it, I'm like, God damn it. It should have been me. But they did a good job. I'm proud of the boys. They even had enough time. They even had enough time to bomb the freaking tomb of that absolute demon. Right? They hit that shit with a hair. They hit it on the way out. I'm like, man, it's so good. It's so good. But I wish it was me. Shit. You know what I mean? Gotta show them why we don't have free healthcare. Man, this shit's been good. It gives me hope for the military. Maybe we won't be forced to fight with fucking 3 limbs behind our back anymore. All right? We are the Department of War now. Let us fucking win. Although now, do you remember when I was telling everybody that the reason why, like the regime change wars and all that stuff took so long, the vast majority of it was because they wanted it to. We could have, if we had dug down, right, in Afghanistan and Iraq, and we said, fuck these dudes, like we did during the invasion, we would have won. We weren't allowed to. The whole Obama era bullshit. Also, this has been good for everyone. For the most part, we'll see what happens, though, because the Maduro regime, they haven't just disappeared. They haven't gone and just ran away yet. From anything I've seen so far, it seems like they're going to try and, do some kind of resistance. They're deploying forces just to deploy them. When I was looking at what other people were reporting their positions were going to be, it didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, what are you guys doing? But anyway, like the regime's still there, but what they might do is dismantle it and then maybe do some targeted strikes. Maybe send in some special weapons teams or special mission units to go into certain places and take them over and get some key individuals, right? Cut the head off the snakes. But that's only going to do so much. The rest of it's going to be up to the people of Venezuela. Hopefully. We don't want to go there in full force. We don't want to go there in full force and end up like in Iraq or Afghanistan. Hopefully this time we're allowed to win. Also, since it's South America, we don't have to worry about Russia or China getting involved. Well, yeah, that's true. They don't have the capacity. I mean, they could launch missiles. That's about it. Probably some drones. Fire Mango. The VP is still trying to maintain control. Hopefully the people say that it's revolution time. That's what I'm hoping. I see a lot of celebration, but I don't see riots. I don't see fighting. I don't see the Venezuelan people overthrowing the government in any way, shape, or form yet. Hopefully that changes soon. Well, this is Banana Republic 2 Electric Boogaloo, except currently way less messy. Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, we're not cutting our teeth this time. I'm fairly confident if the military is allowed to be competent, they know what they need to do. These wars need to stop being ran by freaking pure civilians. They need to be ran by fighting men. And it's a good thing we got the Secretary of War. He's going to be known as So now. Secretary of War. He's now known as So. That shit's great. But yeah, hopefully this time things are going to be different. But yeah, so far, things are kind of in a lull at the moment. There's nothing extra special and spicy going on about it, really. Let's see, is there any updates? Nope, nothing new still. You know what I kind of hope for? I hope the mayor of New York City tries to break Maduro out from federal custody. You know why? Because then there's an excuse to arrest him. We probably got to wait till after the trial to see what happens. Well, it's going to be short. It's going to be short. There's so much stacked against him. And you know that mess about people talking about international law? all over the place. You know about that? Well, international law is the United States of America. That's what international law is. If people hold us as the world police, then international law, the enforcement arm of it is the United States military. So, like, you can't get any more legal than that, really. But all these people are saying, like, there's a violation of international law. Fuck you, commie. But yeah. Wait. Maybe the enforcers, even though I don't like them, maybe the enforcers got something more.
Nice, because it helps us to see that people are out later on. Moment as we
we probably gotta wait till. Oh yeah. All right, have fun with this. I'm gonna pop off. I'll see you around. I'm waiting till the trial's over. Okay, I got you. Too easy. I'm just curious because I'm like, It should have been me. God damn it! I wish we had gone in 2018. Shit. We were ready for it. I was there. We were blocks away, and then fug. Well, anyway, yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 1410 of the War News stream. And we have very big news tonight. We've heard that Venezuela is currently mobilizing as U.S. forces begin a takeover of Venezuela and occupation of the country. We've also heard that Moscow is being assaulted by Ukrainian drones in the capital, and also Iran has devolved into massive gunfights as the Ayatollah's regime starts crumbling in on itself. And it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, folks, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of news from around the world, and to say it at the least, today's news is also as massive as yesterday's, and of course we are currently on high alert at the moment here at Enforcer HQ for any possible breaking news that may be coming out in the midst of our show. So, to let you all know up front, at any given moment we may have to break to more breaking news which may be coming out here on air. I cannot guarantee that that's going to happen, but there is a possibility. Nevertheless, we do have massive news that has happened over the past 24 hours, as we have been able to hear that the hunt for Captain Crack Sparrow has concluded, and it appears to now be a hunt for his 40 thieves within Venezuela. The United States Armed Forces of the United States Air Force, Marine Corps, and the U.S. Army were able to conduct a successful special military operation, the actual special military operation by definition, to capture and exfiltrate with Nicolas Maduro and his wife, the president of the Republic of Venezuela. We do understand that the operation was a success, and at the moment we have been able to confirm that no U.S. forces were killed in the midst of the ongoing operation. Nevertheless, several U.S. soldiers have been wounded, according to reports, and a medevac was seen flying to Roosevelt Roads in Puerto Rico to be able to return those wounded soldiers back to military hospitals within the United States. Meanwhile, we have been able to see that the Venezuelan government has now been putting its armed forces on a state of high alert and is openly stating that they are ready to continue to resist until the very end against the United States and a possible military action against Venezuela, which will be occurring here within the near future. As the U.S. president did make statements at a press conference today, highly suggesting that there will be boots on the ground within Venezuela and that the United States of America is going to run Venezuela as a military occupation zone for some period of time into the future until a proper government can be created. Apparently, we've already thrown away the opposition leader of Venezuela, as the President of the United States has also stated that the opposition leader is apparently too weak to lead the country, and so while the opposition leader was the opposition leader, it appears that the U.S. is ousting the opposition leader as the leader of the opposition. Nevertheless, we have also been able to see pictures of the former president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, inside of U.S. custody on board the USS Iwo Jima, and also being offloaded at a airport near to New York City and transported to the Metropolitan Detention Center within New York City itself to await trial inside of a federal district of court within the state of New York on multiple different charges, most of them felony. We have also been able to see that at the exact same time, there has been some very interesting developments inside of Venezuela once more, as we have gotten more video and picture evidence of the raid that was conducted last night, and we've also been able to see the damage that was caused by U.S. armed forces by both satellite photography and also video on the ground from civilians, also showing us the extent of the damage that was caused by the U.S. strikes. Meanwhile, we also were able to hear that there has been a good deal of international condemnation by the typical folks that you would expect. The Russian Foreign Minister.
What is up, Snappy T? How you doing? And yes, 100%. Freaking, I'm proud of my boys. I'm proud of them. Every single one. I really wish I had gotten to do it back when I was in Venezuela in 2018. That's the only thing that sucks about this at all. But that's personal to me. But yeah. Hopefully the Venezuelan people start taking charge, because the regime's still in power. Maduro's gone, but the regime's still there. Hopefully we don't have to get too far involved with this. Step ET, lost to be proud of. I'm sure you had a part in getting where they are today. Good work and thank you. Well, I mean, they most likely used everything that we had put together back when we were there, because that seems like exactly what they did. So I'm happy about it. I'm happy. I'm happy for Venezuela. I'm happy for our military getting some more victories again, being allowed to win. And I'm happy that all of the right people are so pissed off about this. All those filthy leftists are mad as hell that one of their leftist gods just got dethroned. They're so mad. Come mierda, izquierdistas, mátate.
And the Chinese Foreign Ministry have both openly condemned the United States of America of conducting a completely merciless act against a sovereign state and not respecting its leader or its national borders, which sounds quite familiar considering that China does not recognize Taiwan as an independent country and the Russians are currently involved in a military invasion in Ukraine, so kind of like the pot calling the kettle black. We've also been able to see
Snappy T, lots of people feeling relief. They can be pissed off. Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely. 100%. People think, the victories are just because Maduro's gone. Like the celebrations in the streets. No, it's not just because he's gone. It's because these people have been repressed so much that just this small step was enough for them to be able to just release all that pent-up everything. You know what I mean? They're able to let it out now. So it's more than just a celebration of Maduro. It's a celebration of, as you said, them feeling relieved. People who have lived really cushy, easy lives, they won't be able to understand this. They can't. They haven't lived something like this themselves. So, yeah.
That additionally, outside the Venezuelan situation, the armed rebellion or revolution that's currently being conducted within Iran is still ongoing at this moment, as we are hearing of active firefights throughout the...
Oh, Iran's another place I hope gets freed. Because if that's the case, freaking... Well, I mean, even though Iraq is still kind of bad, still, kind of, it's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still kind of bad. It'd be nice to have Iran, freed as well. That'd be really cool. And then maybe for once, maybe for once there'll be a greater amount of headway towards peace in the Middle East. We'll see.
The entirety of the country against the revolutionaries and the central government, with both sides vying for control at this moment. Right now, we have also been able to hear, according to our trusted source, Fitux Network, that around 22 Iranian revolutionaries have been confirmed killed at the moment by the Iranian government, while the number of Iranian government officials and members of the government killed is an unknown number. The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and the Republic of France have also conducted significant airstrikes on ISIS strongholds near to the city of Palmyra within the Syrian interim government's area of control. Video footage was published both by the Royal Air Force and the French Air and Space Forces showing these airstrikes being conducted within the area of Palmyra, while simultaneously the Saudi Arabians are now continuing to bomb the Hadrami elite forces now that the Hadrami elite forces completely lack any UAE support. The UAE was the backer of the Hadrami elite forces, and now it appears that the Hadrami have been left to dry, and it appears that they're going to be quite a dry or a Hadrami here in the near future. Meanwhile, North Korea has also fired off 2 ballistic missiles into the Sea of Japan over the course of the day, once again conducting some rising escalations within the area, as this is of course putting Japan and South Korea on a tense standing with the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Meanwhile, we've also been able to see that a major drone attack has been conducted around the Moscow area, with reports showing that drones are quite literally encircling the entire air defense perimeter and may have likely actually overrun the area.
One big lesson we're learning from all these current conflicts right now is we're rediscovering, well, quantity as a quality all its own. Because what you can't, if you don't have enough missiles, you can have thousands of drones. Shit. Like, I remember when the Russians kind of did like limited usage of them. Kind of the idea we had for the tactical level, but to see the absolute scale now, oh my dear God. How, like, how would I even end up, I'd need a shotgun. I need some kind of detection system, but then it can find me more easily too. It's like, damn, it's hard. It's tough.
The Finnish authorities have also published footage of the seizure of the Fitberg, or generally the stoppage of the Fitberg for inspections, in which it was carrying sanctioned cargo, and we also have heard from Finnish authorities that they highly believe that it actually dragged its anchor chain and anchor over a telecom cable at the bottom of the Gulf of Finland and severed it. The United States Air Forces have been conducting significant flights to RAF Fairford throughout the day, with over a dozen C-17 seen arriving and landing at RAF Fairford for unknown reasons, while the state of Ukraine has also been seen to continue to inflict incredibly high casualties onto the Russian Federation's armed forces, and have been able to generally stop most if not all Russian advances throughout the course of the day. Any small advance that the Russians have even made has been paid for dearly in blood. But we will be making sure to get in.
What's going on with the Ukrainians? Unfortunate though. As long as Russia decides it's still worth it to just throw bodies at it, Ukraine can't win the war. I don't see them winning that territory back. Unless Russia implodes somehow, which I don't see happening. If it hasn't happened already, it's probably not going to happen now.
To all of the news that we have from around the world today, which is, to say the least, incredibly extensive once again, and also incredibly large.
It's a lot of news right there. It's crazy times, people. Like to think today, the announcement coming out that the U.S. is simply going to be taking over Venezuela. That was something that made my head spin today. I was not expecting them to say they were taking over Venezuela. Last night we saw something crazy too. Literally, Maduro was kidnapped and captured and brought straight back to New York. I mean, it's just crazy events happening right now. But I'm very mystified right now about the whole situation about occupying and taking over Venezuela. That's going to be something to watch.
I would have to agree. It is going to be quite an interesting situation nonetheless. And of course, folks, we are going to be making sure to get into each and every single piece of the major news that we've had over the past 24 hours. So if you've heard anything in the beginning 5 minutes of our summary here, talking about all the major events from around the world, make sure to stick around because we will be covering every single one of those in as much detail as we can, and every other topic.
I really hope that what they mean by us taking control of Venezuela is that it's going to be a dismantling operation of the regime. I don't want us to, again, I don't want us to go in there and have boots on the ground the whole time unless, there's absolutely no other option. Again, I'm really hopeful that the Venezuelan people step it up as fast as they can. I don't know. What do y'all think? Me personally, you got to dismantle the regime first. Can't really do much else beyond that.
Throughout the course of tonight's stream. And I also want to remind everyone that at any given moment, we may have to stop our news coverage dead in its tracks to actually go to breaking news, which may be developing at the moment. We do not know if anything's going to be happening, but there is a decent chance that it may. And for that reason, I do want to keep you all in mind that at any given moment, y'all actually may hear breaking news unfolding on air. Moving on from that and into the area of the Americas, we have been able to confirm that the United States of America has officially captured Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, and his wife in a special forces raid that was conducted last night within the capital of Venezuela, the city of Caracas. Video and picture evidence began to emerge from the United States of America today, showing Nicolas Maduro on board the USS Iwo Jima. It appears that he was dressed for sleep, as he is inside of a form of a sweater or a hoodie, and also a jumper as well. With
it's all Nike. It's a freaking. It's a freaking Nike sweatsuit, essentially. So that's what he. That's what he sleeps in? I mean, I guess if it's comfy, it makes sense. But I'm like, it's a sweatsuit. It's hot down there. Why is he... like, shit, dude.
A little sleeping visor put over his eyes. He's also holding a bottle of water.
Is that a Nike Tech? Is that a...
God damn, I wish it was me. That irks me so hard. That irks me so hard. We were there in 2018. I was there. We could have done this already. In the first term. I wish it was me so badly. No one would ever know, right? But I wish it was me. We could have done it. But anyway, let's continue.
Nike Tech he's wearing right there for pajamas?
Maybe.
It
actually looks like it.
That's a favorite of rappers right there, right? That's a very interesting choice of outfit.
Man, well, it feels good to be a gangsta. But beyond that, it does appear that we did get picture evidence, at least of his existence, and we do understand that this was actually provided as proof of life. The Venezuelan government, specifically most top officials, were actually claiming, including the vice president of Venezuela, that Nicolas Maduro may have actually been killed by U.S. forces and were demanding proof of life. And not long after that demand of proof of life was made, this picture, which was the first of several, actually emerged, showing that Nicolas Maduro was, in fact, alive, and apparently quite well. I mean, he's absolutely dripped out at this point.
Oh shit, they tried. It wasn't for his good that they were like, oh, he might be dead. No, someone else wants to take power, and so they were trying to declare him dead. Oh man, no honor amongst thieves, huh? Or communists in this case. Come mierda, izquierdistas, mátate. Snappy T dropped out, dripped. Yeah.
And they said drip or drown, and this buddy was dripping. We cannot say that the Blackhawks that were carrying out of Caracas were dripping any fuel, because it appears that they made it all the way back to the amphibious ready group that conducted the strike. Meanwhile, we also got an additional picture. We're not really sure where this one came from, and there is a possibility that this one may be AI made, as his outfit has completely changed. But we can.
We're being told that one right there is actually artificially generated, so that's apparently not a real photo.
I was thinking that earlier. Like, a lot of people were saying that it was real, and so I was going to give you all the caveat that might be a real one, but we think it's most likely AI. But this next picture, the third one here, is actually confirmed to be another real picture of Maduro on board the Iwo Jima. There he is right there.
That is also another artificially generated photo, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both of those are. The only one that we can confirm is real right now is that first one you showed. And also we do.
AI is getting good. But I thought it was kind of weird that he suddenly had a man dress on. They don't do that shit in Venezuela.
You have obviously the perp walk, that's real, and also all the photos of him not shitting, but sitting in the hangar where he was taken by the DEA. Those are real photos too, but those two other ones you just showed, those are actually AI.
I'm not going to lie, AI is getting very convincing these days. I knew the second one was somewhat questionable, but the third one, folks, actually, they pulled one over on me. I actually thought that was a legitimate picture. But moving on out of that picture that we did get out of the Caribbean, we did apparently hear that afterwards he was flown from the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group, where we don't know exactly how he flew from that Ready Group to Guantanamo Bay, but he apparently arrived at some point at Guantanamo Bay, and then another aircraft actually took him from Guantanamo to New York City. We have been able to see that at New York City, he landed at an airport just northwest of the city, and we were able to see the pictures here showing Maduro inside of New York, or at least getting off the plane in that picture. We also have some additional pictures as well showing his perp walk off of the jet. We can see him right here with a beanie on his head, surrounded by DEA agents or Drug Enforcement Agency agents up the staircase and also standing all around him. We can also see that he was inside of the hangar where the aircraft had pulled over on the tarmac to allow for disembarking, and we can see that apparently he was putting up a thumbs up right here.
Well, at least, you know, I don't know. This is Jerry Novo. Libertad para los venezolanos. Yes. And comen mierda izquierdistas. I love it. I love it so much. Venezuela libre. Ahora.
I have to say that they apparently switched out his clothes.
But yeah. God damn it. I wish it was me. Dude. Oh. I mean, I'm proud of the boys. I really am. I did serve alongside some of the guys that are in some of the photos. The military, not the federal agencies. But damn, I wish it was me. I'm so jealous of them right now. This is like one of the scores of a century. You know what I'm saying? This is like where they release stuff about it 50 years later, and you're dead in the ground, but you get to be a legend in posterity, right? God damn it! Oh,
From the time that he was on the Iwo Jima.
At least somebody got him, and I'm proud of who it was.
To Guantanamo to New York City, but we can see him here putting a thumbs up with several more DEA agents posing around him for pictures, and then we can also see him doing the famous perp walk right here. And he's not doing a perp walk, folks.
I guess they thought it'd be better to put him in like a hipster beanie and a normal blue, I guess, hoodie or something right there. I'm not really sure why they changed his clothes out like that, because I don't see any really reason to do that. But
guess nobody's gonna get that 50 mil. Sad. You know, if I had my own security company and I was given the green light by the U.S. government, like, hey, we're not going to interfere with you, and everybody from the top down knew not to fuck with us, man, that would have been nice. I'm just saying. I wish we had letters of marque. Then I could just murk my way into that motherfucker. Then I could have gotten him. Right? Instead of waiting for a green light from up higher. Like, hey, you guys can go in now. Venezuela libre. And it's like, well, shit. Didn't happen. But now it did. Damn it, though. That 50 mil would be nice right now.
I guess they figured.
Anyway, how are you doing, Jerry?
To give him a hipster beanie and let him style around, I guess.
Yeah, I guess they did. I mean, apparently this was at the New York Stewart International Airport, which I'll actually pull up for y'all right here, the Stewart International Airport inside of New York. And this is apparently the airport that they landed him at. So he actually had a little bit of a drive from the Stewart International Airport all the way down to New York City. We understand that he's currently being kept inside of the MDC, which stands for the Metropolitan Detention Center, and he is going to be waiting there at the moment as he has actually had charges brought up against him by the United States government. We have been able to hear that there are indictments against Maduro that have been unsealed by the U.S. justice system, and apparently these charges are against him and his wife and other officials that have been alleged to be involved with narco-terrorism and cocaine trafficking conspiracies, as well as weapons-related related offenses. I don't know what the weapons related offenses are. I mean, I guess buying Chinese and Russian garbage, which is an offense in itself. But outside of that, I don't know what those charges are specifically about. We'll have to read the actual indictments and find that out later on.
Oh, brother. I mean, honestly, forget all about, just all the international stuff. Just based upon the domestic shit alone. He was a terrorist organization against his own people. He runs a narco-terrorist organization, the Sons. And on top of that, they aid and assist terrorists, like, in their own country. Just off that alone. Right? He should be put on a rope. Let's not even add into what we decide against ourselves, right? And what we decide to count. It's a long list. God damn, this was the HVT of the century, and I didn't get to participate. No. God, that it's painful. It really is. We were there in 2018. We could have taken them. No. But hey, at least it happened now, right?
Still, it does appear that he will actually be facing trial within a U.S. court, and at this moment, he is currently inside of the MDC within New York City, and he will be awaiting his trial inside of the MDC. We also were able to see him, mind you all, actually arriving near to the MDC earlier on in the day. We could see footage here actually showing us those vehicles arriving near the area. Unfortunately, folks, we won't be able to show the clip in its entirety, or really any of it at all, but if you would like to see the entirety of the clip of Maduro arriving and then being brought out of the armored cars and into the MDC, you can click on our link in the description below and go to the marker that we have within Manhattan, and you will actually be able to find this clip and watch it for yourself in its entirety. But moving on out of that little bit of information of where Maduro's whereabouts generally are at the moment, which is within the New York City area, we've also been able to hear that while all of that was going on through the course of the day, the White House has actually held an official press briefing about the situation today and has made a great deal of additional statements involving the raid that was conducted last night, and also future actions that the United States appears imminent on taking at the moment. We were able to hear that apparently the U.S. is declaring an occupation of Venezuela at this point. According to the president, he has stated that we are going to run the country until such time as we can have a safe, proper, and judicious transition. We don't want to be involved in having somebody else step in and end up with the same situation, and the U.S. has destroyed 97% of the drug trafficking that came into the country by sea. That doesn't really matter to the whole situation with Venezuela right now, but we do understand that apparently the U.S. is going to be conducting a military occupation to some extent of the country, which is going to be a lot more difficult than some people are thinking.
It's not initially going to be hard. I mean, we took down the fourth largest military on the planet in 23 days. In 23 days. In less than a month, we toppled a country. In less than 2 weeks, we toppled another country. All right? That's the easy part. The easy part will be the invasion. And wiping out all enemy forces that engage us. And destroying everything they have. We can do that. Easy. That's nothing. If the Venezuelan people don't step up, this is most likely gonna end up like another. It's probably gonna be another Iran or Iraq or Afghanistan or Vietnam. Hopefully not. Hopefully we have unshackled the military and told them to win. Because if that's the case, well then, hell yeah, let's destroy them all. We can do it. Yes, we can. People really underestimate us. They see us pull off miracles daily, and people still underestimate the U.S. military, especially in the country. Now, isn't that some funny stuff? Bryce Cooley, Jew, How did you know I was part Jewish? I'm also part Muslim. That's why I say Iberian. You know, if you have to stick an ethnicity to me. Netanyahu? I don't know what that is. Told Trump to invade Venezuela and steal the oil. That all will be used to fund endless wars for Israel and only Israel. Refugees from Venezuela are going to flood into the U.S. as a result. Okay. Do you have absolute proof and evidence of that? Or are you just an izquierdista, comunista, democrático, colero? Because if so, mátate. Oh, Netanyahu. That's what he was trying to spell, but he can't spell. Or at least they sound like they probably can't. Well, anyway, if you're a leftist, then come mierda izquierdista. That being said, let's continue.
Some people have actually thought, at least in the public, that this situation is a lot like a movie, to where if you capture Maduro, the entirety of Venezuela has fallen. And that is not the case at all. It actually appears that the Venezuelan government has apparently remained, at least for now, quite resilient in terms of resistance against the United States, and it appears that it's going to remain that way well on into the future. And that's actually going to be moving us down in a moment after we get through the other important statements made out of Washington, down into Venezuela for all of the major developments that have happened inside of their country over the course of the day. Additionally, we have also been able to hear that the President of the United States then added in that we're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in and spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, and start making money for the country, and also for ourselves. We are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So for everyone who was saying the cliche, the war is for the oil, y'all were actually correct. Ding, 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 ding. I wish y'all had a prize to win or something along those lines, because it actually does appear that the entire cartel and narco-terrorism allegations have pretty much completely fallen to the wayside, and we pretty much just did this for the sour crude inside of Venezuela. So a little bit interesting with that. You know, that was
Anyone who thought that that was not going to be a factor, I just got to say, stupid. Absolutely stupid. And this is one thing that I was hoping would happen, right? It's like, look, if we're going to enter a country, this is my attitude about it now. Now, I fought these wars. I've been in all of them, period, for many decades now, right? I've been to every continent. I've fought these wars on every level. It would have been much more worth it if we got some shit in return. That's what my thought process is on it. It's like, look, if we're going to make this war and we're going to do this bullshit, which I don't mind war, that's nature. Conflict is nature. Nature is conflict. They're inseparable. But if we're going to do something like that, of course we need oil. Which is why I don't understand why so many people are against that. Because it's like, well, you like your matcha latte, whatever you drink now, those hipsters and whatever, whatnot. You like your Starbucks? You like your energy grid structure? Do you like your planes, trains, cars? Right? Do you like everything you got in the Western civilization as a whole? Yes? Okay. Well, it all runs off oil. And that's a fact. So I've always been so befuddled as to why people are like, oh, going there because of the resources is bad. Why? If they're not using it right now, or if they can use it and that could benefit us too, Why not try? I mean, you let me know what y'all think in the chat, but that's my stance on it. I'm like, look, if we end up boots on the ground, I want to get some shit from this. Speaking of boots on the ground, I wonder if they'll need a mercenary for, like, security forces. I should probably get a hold of some oil companies and offer my services, huh? I mean, I've been on the ground there. I know what this stuff is like, so it's like, well, give me a ring.
Was something that was on up there in likelihood, but I'll be entirely honest with y'all. I thought that that was something that would be more so taking second fiddle to removing Chinese or Russian influence from Venezuela. It actually appears that I was incorrect on that. Apparently, the top priority was just getting access to all of the sour crude inside of Venezuela. So
it is wild though. It seems like once Maduro was captured and he was brought into U.S. custody, the whole really big narrative of this being mainly about drugs, kind of like you said, went by the wayside, and they went heavy during the presidential speech today about sending in the U.S. oil companies to retake the stuff in Venezuela, and they're going to pump billions of dollars into it and start making money for the country, I assume mainly America and also Venezuela as well. So that seemed to be like the highlight of the speech today. It was all about oil. Now, I will say this, though, a caveat here, they did charge Maduro with narco-terrorism, so he is being charged, at least allegedly, with crimes related to the drug trade and things like that. But it seems like the U.S. has completely transitioned into taking over the oil fields for the most part. So that's kind of wild how quick that flip happened with the narrative like that.
Yeah, I gotta say, it was pretty quick, folks, because over the course of this entire day, we have basically heard nothing about fentanyl coming from Venezuela or the cartels within Venezuela, rather than that one short comment that they cut out most of the boat traffic to the United States. The rest of it was entirely about what the United States is going to be doing, returning our oil companies into Venezuela, which is fairly interesting, to say the least, because that was really not the justification that was being given to the public the entire time as to what we were doing. But anyways, moving on from that, we also were able to hear that apparently the president has also said that we are not afraid to put boots on the ground.
Samson, nobody is going to miss Maduro. But 40 people were killed. 40 innocent people. Really? You got the sauce? Actually, let's look it up live. Maduro operation casualties. At least 40 Venezuelan military personnel and civilians reported killed. Okay, well, if they're peripheral to military personnel, that means they were most likely involved in some way, shape, or form. And some of it might have been real bad luck. But you know what I got to say to that? As someone who's done these kinds of missions dozens of times overseas, for being so close to everything happening, those people were shit out of luck. And that's a fact. Even Delta Force, the top tier of all nation special forces of any kind, special task force, special mission unit, doesn't matter what they are, Delta Force is the top tier. And even they are still susceptible to the fog of war. You can only plan so well. You can only implement planning so well. You can only train so good. But you will never avoid having some kind of collateral damage. That shit's damn near impossible. Especially in an urban area. Because you know what happens when you shoot walls that are not designed to be, shot at? You know what rounds do to walls? You know what they do? After they go through a human? they can still keep going. So it's unfortunate that a bunch of other people died. But that's war. So I don't know what to tell you, really, except I am sorry that you are so afflicted by the deaths of a bunch of people somewhere else in the world. That's got to be a rough life. But as someone who's almost died many, many times himself, sometimes no matter what you do and where you are and who you are, you're just shit out of luck no matter what else you've done. And that's just how it goes. Jerry Novo, Venezuela suffered when their government seized all the oil fields from the big corporations. Yeah, I remember. Expatria. Expatria. Right? Freaking Chavez going up and down all the shops and stuff saying, guess what? You don't own the shop anymore. Get out. Expatria. We own the shops now. Yeah. Chavez did a number on that country. I mean, Chavez in Venezuela, freaking the Perons in Argentina. They're all of them were leftists, and leftists are evil. That's just the fact of reality. You know, the good versus evil dynamic? Well, they're the evil side of that dynamic.
In Venezuela, and apparently turned this into a far longer conflict than many people were believing from the 2.5-hour operation that we just saw the night before. We've also been able to see that apparently the Secretary of Defense has also made some statements as well, including the following: "We can assure that we have access to additional wealth and resources, enabling a country to at least unleash that without having to spend American blood."
Oh, look at that meme.
Oh, look.
What the hell? That had caught me off guard for me. I looked up and I was listening to what you were saying. I saw that meme. That freaked me out. I was like, what the hell is that? That's a soldier.
Oh, man, that's Iraq shenanigans right there. But beyond that,
man, one thing that always does suck, though, no matter how cold-hearted I may be now from, decades of war, it always sucks, when it comes to the kids. That's what gets to me. Because it's like, shit, dude.
that it does appear that at the moment, at least for now, I don't really think the Secretary of Defense's statements are going to end up being entirely truthful at the moment about not having to spend American blood, because we're about to get you all down to Venezuela in a minute, and the situation down there actually looks...
Jerry Novo, they've taught me that shiz in the academy. They just say, get in there and try our best to minimize the casualties. I just wish I could train more sometimes, or just acquire more experience or something. Bub, you can train anytime you wish. You know what one of the deadliest American snipers ever in the history of the United States military used to do? He was known as White Feather. You know what he used to do? He would do gun drills on his floor for hours. He would go shooting for hours. Targets at every single range possible. He would train on trigger pulls for hours. Every single day, all the time. 24/7, 365. You can always train. Right? As much as you can. Experience comes with doing the job. Unfortunately, there is nothing else you can do to make up for that experience when it comes to war. You can train all you want, but you never truly know until you're in it. Some guys do freeze. I've had that happen to people. I've almost shit my pants myself. But the fact of the matter is that it's just, you can't make up for experience very much. You can train to be real good, but experience is one thing that kind of makes or breaks people. So honestly, I would say, like, don't be in such a hurry. I mean, I'm lucky to be alive. Just saying.
A little bit more resolute than one would anticipate, especially considering.
But yeah, that is very true. Just get in there and try your best to minimize the casualties. And as the guy who quite often volunteered as point man when it came to clearing any freaking thing, my attitude was basically, I am dead. I need to get in here and get it over with. And the fastest way to get it over with, and hopefully if you die it's quick, is to be the point guy. And be the first one in the door. So, yeah, I mean, and I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, there's no true way to, like, clear a room without, getting killed or taking casualties. And I'm like, well, that's true. I've had casualties, and then I've had missions where we had 0 casualties. We were lucky. But the fact of the matter is you're going to die anyway. So before you hit the floor, make sure you're not in the door. You know what I'm saying? People think it's real morbid, but the fact of the matter is point man, you're the first target. And you can only move so fast. So the worst thing you can do is get hit and drop in the doorway, trapping the rest of the team behind you. And so I would always say, move in that door as fast as you can. Because if you drop in front of everybody, everyone's going to die. So, yeah. But anyway, let's continue.
That the leader of their country had literally been nabbed in the middle of the night by the boogeymen and disappeared in a helicopter off into the night, off into the Caribbean. But before we get on into all of that, I do want to talk about the statements that the President of the United States has made today about the foreign policy prerogatives at the moment with the Caribbean and also specifically with the Republic of Venezuela. But one more thing I want to say before we get on into that. Well, actually, you know what? Actually, we'll hold this off for a moment. We'll actually get to this one here in a second. But Matthew, what are people thinking about those statements, and what are you thinking about them as well?
Okay, so during the major presidential press conference today about this Venezuela situation that we saw literally break out live on the air last night, the U.S. says that they're taking over Venezuela, and you heard that right, taking over the country apparently, until a real and favorable government is installed that the U.S. Prefers. And what do you think about that? People are all over the place on this poll. 35% said that's a good idea, it's the best option that the U.S. has, while 35% also said as well, that's a terrible idea, that would be a disaster, and 20% said we really have no other real option, so we kind of have to go down this path. And I would say, once again, I've been saying this for a very long time.
So 55%, basically, the overwhelming majority, agrees with what Trump did, basically is what he said there. I don't know why they split it into a separate peripheral vote to the third vote. I don't understand why they did that, but okay. Yeah, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Is anybody wanting to join the Discord if, you haven't already? Actually, wait, let me just click that shit over real quick. Copy that. Okay, cool. Discord link. There we go. Any shoot. Let's hear more about communists getting blown up.
Time. It is not a good idea to go in on the ground inside of Venezuela. That will get us bogged down almost certainly in that country. So to me, I'm with the 35% that said it's a terrible idea. This is going to turn into a prolonged disaster. Not because the
Hey, what's up, Commander Wolf? How you doing? 12 watchers. Also, yeah, Delta went in, kicked ass, and took names. Greetings, everybody. I'm proud of my boys. A couple of the guys I served with were on that team. I mean, most likely they were. I mean, pretty much everybody else knows they're there. But that being said, man, Wolf, do you remember when I talked about me being in Venezuela in 2018? This exact operation and mission was what we were supposed to do. I guess I can talk about it now. And god damn it, I wish it was me. I so badly wish it was me. Shit, dude. We could have done it too. It was the same plan, except they kind of updated it from what I could tell reading about it. But yeah, it was. That one's gonna eat me for a while. It really is. This is one of the best missions of the century. And someone else got to do it instead. Urgh. Well, anyway, hopefully this leads to something better. Venezuela libre.
Venezuelan military is powerful or strong. They're not. We saw that last night. They got rolled and steamrolled last night. But it's just about the idea that a guerrilla warfare campaign is likely to break out as a result of an occupation of Venezuela, and any type of attempt by the United States to keep control of the country is going to be met by nonstop resistance from probably several factions.
Jerry Novo, does this mean I owe you and your friends some beer? You owe us having a better life than we are. That's how that goes. That's what you owe us. Because that's part of kind of like what the duty of a soldier is. Enabling those that live in his nation to live the best lives they can. So live well. But yeah, man, it still eats me. I'm just saying. It could have been me.
Probably more than 10 or 15 factions that exist inside of Venezuela. They're going to be constantly attacking and fighting, and it's going to be nonstop. Prior war game simulations have also indicated and predicted that, and the U.S. is aware of those war game simulations, but it seems like they're going for this really radical option anyway, which seems to be a very shaky option to take. So I don't think it's a good idea, me personally, and I was kind of shocked to hear that that was the goal that they announced today. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to say that I'd actually be with a 19%. We really don't have any other option at the moment. It's not that it's ideal, but at the same time, it's not really like we can walk away from this and just leave it alone. Getting rid of Maduro, to be entirely honest with y'all, really didn't do a whole lot, at least for the situation in Venezuela. They are still a Chinese-Russian aligned state at the moment, and while Maduro is gone, basically the line of succession has just bumped everyone up a position at the moment and has moved someone up into the acting president, the acting minister of defense, and so on and so forth. And we're just seeing that at the moment, the Venezuelan government is still continuing on generally as if Maduro never even really existed, at least for now. They are going to try and continue some form of resistance, and we are going to have to deal with it, because if we walk away right now, folks, here's what's going to happen. The Russians and Chinese have already made it clear through today's statements, through their foreign ministries, that they are 100% aligned to the Venezuelans, and while they really can't do anything to help them out right now, they are definitely going to be working in the future, if we walk off, to try and arm and support them to the gill. Didn't really seem that it helped them out a lot, the minimal amount of support that they got last night, but it is still going to make the situation a lot more difficult to deal with in the future, and who's to say if we don't walk off now, the Venezuelans may allow the Russians or the Chinese to actually build some form of a port facility or naval base along their coastline, or jointly share a naval base or port facility that then allows China and Russia to power project not only within the Caribbean and also the Americas, but on top of that, to also be able to allow themselves to steam out of port from Venezuela and directly confront U.S. forces in the future if we try and deal with that situation then.
Well, I mean, thankfully Argentina's already aligned with us. So, yeah. And we shut them down in Panama. I'm not too terribly worried about Russia or China really being able to do too much, because they still don't have, they just still don't have the logistics. Now, China and Russia are pretty freaking big, that's true, on their home turf, in their own land, with their direct neighbors, right? So they're very logistically limited. Very much so. It would be hard for them to do too much in South America at all. I mean, sure, I mean, modern technology makes a lot of things easier, but they don't have enough logistics, period, to pull something like that off. Only the United States of America has that kind of projection power. That's why we literally are all over the planet. Commander Wolf, this gives me the same energy as when Trump was negotiating with the same people, warlords, with a drone over their house, and he told them, think about it. Oh, the Taliban, when he was talking to the Taliban, he was like, listen, Abdul. Oh, I forgot the dude's name. I'm pretty sure it was Abdul. Listen, Abdul. Look at this picture. What's this for? Figure it out. I freaking love that dude. It's such gangster shit to do. I swear to God.
That's something that
May we live in interesting times. Well, they're sure as hell happening.
we really cannot deal with, regardless of the motives of this action that we've seen by the U.S. government, whether it was for oil, whether it was to curb Chinese or Russian influence, or whether it was over the cartels, which that is the most unlikely option at this point. One thing's for certain, we really cannot allow the Venezuelan government to remain there and just walk off and leave them alone to their own devices and to the devices of the Chinese and the Russians. So while this isn't an incredibly great situation, in my opinion, I would generally be honest with y'all, we really have no other choice rather than to go in, clear out their government, and try and put a new one in that would support American interests within the region.
Just think though, like what is the next step that the U.S. is going to have to take to actually carry out this plan to occupy Venezuela? Because I see some people saying, well, the U.S. doesn't really mean they're going to occupy the country. They're simply going to take it over. But in order to take it over, you have to basically occupy the capital at least. So
Unless something that is still supremely unlikely to happen, even though, you know, I'm happy that the Venezuelans are happy, they're not really doing much. But, you know, when it comes to this, I'm hoping for the very lowest possibility thing to happen, and that is that the Venezuelan people say, Comen mierda izquierdistas, mátate. And, you know, they just absolutely revolt. That's what I'm hoping for. And hopefully they all decide they want to be Bukele at the same time and do what he did for El Salvador. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for the Bukele DLC in Venezuela, the PvP server. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I want. I want 1,000,000 Nayib Bukeles to take over Venezuela. That's what I wish for, dude. I want that so bad. And Venezuela has some beautiful places. It really does. But yeah, Nayib Bukele DLC, anybody?
we're going to be seeing Marine Corps landings on.
Commander Wolf, at times like this, I'm reminded of the greatest scene of all time in Starship Troopers, the moral philosophy class with the LT. Oh yeah, that's right. You know, and he was a veteran too, so he already served in the shoot, what were they called? The Human Federation Military? I keep forgetting it. But yeah, he already served before. He was a veteran, and then he just joined right back up. And then there was that other guy who he was an instructor, and then he wanted to go into combat. And so in order to go to combat, he had to be demoted all the way to private so he could go to the war. Oh shit. Commander Wolf, citizens while the rest are civilians. Well, it makes sense, honestly. It sounds like a wonderfully great system. It really does. Right? You earn your citizenship, you've proven yourself to the country, you are a full-fledged citizen. You have staked your blood and life on it, right? Well, that would solve a lot of issues we have today. A huge amount of them.
The shores? Are we going to be seeing? I mean, how's this going to work, right? The U.S. Leadership has not been very extensive with explaining how that's going to work. Obviously, for operational security reasons, they're going to be vague about that. But you know, going in on the ground, are we going to get into a ground war with the Venezuelan troops that are still left and still loyal to Maduro? Because so far right now, it sounds like the vice president of Venezuela has been sworn in, and she's vowing to fight till the end. If you can believe that or not, she may be bluffing. There's no telling. But she apparently did not flee to Russia, contrary to reports that we had heard yesterday. She's still inside of Venezuela, and she's going to try to hold out. And we're also seeing these ragtag bands of forces roaming the streets in Caracas, and also very old military equipment moving through the streets as well. So they are going to mount some sort of resistance. That's obvious at this point. It doesn't appear to be a super strong resistance, but that means the U.S. military is going to have to engage in ground battles to take the capital, at least based on what I'm seeing.
I would have to say that does seem like it's fairly likely, but at the same time, I do have to say there really is nothing else that we can do. Like, if anyone, like, if we say that the U.S. has overstepped or overplayed and it shouldn't have gotten to the situation, I would generally agree. But we are here right now, and if we just walk away and allow the Maduro-aligned government to exist, which is more so Chinese or Russian-aligned, more so than Maduro-aligned, then we're basically allowing the Russians and the Chinese to slip in right behind us and start building up Venezuela into a situation that we cannot deal with in the future, and then we have an open adversary quite literally within our backyard. A lot like
the Venezuelan people, the way they're looking at us right now, it would be really hard to fuck this up. I am just saying. All of these people are like, America, freaking come help us. Americano, necesito ayuda ahora. That's basically what they're saying. And it would be really hard to fuck this up. That's literally like the short plane of it. It'd be really excruciatingly tough to screw this up. The people are willing. They're on your side. You have all the hearts and minds you freaking need. Okay? You could probably arm them all right now. Like, just start dropping off weapons on the coast. Arming them all up and tell them, you take your country, we'll help you after that. They'd probably have that sucker down in like a week. I'm just saying. But yeah, it would be really hard to screw this up. Rubio looks like he's doing a good job so far. So I'm really hoping that, you know, this isn't handed off like secondhand to some freaking retard. Oh shit, I don't want a Venezuela part 2 freaking retard boogaloo. You know what I'm saying? Commander Wolf, the civilians get to do whatever they want. Only thing they can't do is vote unless they put in for service, be it military or public service, like police, firefighters, or paramedics, and the like. At least that's what I recall. Also, greeting folks in chat. Yeah, yeah, that would eliminate a lot of certain types of people from voting for any freaking reason. I swear to God, we gave women the right to vote, and suddenly we're here. And also, did you know that Western females in the past, since 1950, have killed more human beings than pretty much all of the recorded history? Did you know that, Commander Wolf? Did you know that shit? Your Western female, right? Women of the West have murdered more people since 1950 than all of recorded history combined. That is goddamn wild. It's something like, you know, in the billions, past the billions now, or some shit like that. And it's like, oh, like I knew they were evil, but you know, and I knew they did certain things. I didn't think it was that bad. Turns out it's worse. Jesus Christ. Western women have a body count in both directions. Fucking hell. See, my son's not going to date a Western woman. He's going to get an arranged marriage to a good girl from overseas, from a good, strong, strict family, hopefully religious, morally and ethically straight if not. And he won't have to worry about none of this shit at all. Fuck all that. God damn. Anyway, let's continue. I need to stop yapping so much. Jerry Nova, bro, I just started going into law enforcement. Yes, men can do bad things, but women just be the most evil human beings, man. Absolutely. And dear God, if you're just now getting into law enforcement, oh shit. Oh God, depending on where you are, my man, it's gonna be tough. Speaking of which, that might be the next game I create, is a law enforcement game. Like, I don't know, an immigration game. And it'll and it'll be like GTA Cops, essentially. Cops in GTA don't fuck around. They don't even go to warnings or nothing. They straight up go to kill you. That's it. That's all. Speeding ticket, bow bow. Freaking GTA cops are great. Well, anyway, let's continue. But yeah, bub, you're gonna see some really bad stuff. I'm just saying. I've worked with law enforcement a lot, especially federal law enforcement. You know, and brother, the shit you're gonna see. I hope you're ready. Actually, you know what? See if Live Leak is still around, and watch a bunch of stuff from there to be prepared for what you're about to get into. Depending on where you live, though, I don't know if you're gonna see a lot or a little, but you're gonna see something.
Like we had with Cuba for some time. So I'd have to say, while this is not a great situation, and I generally would say, folks, that with everything else going on in the world right now, there are a lot of larger fish to fry than the Venezuelan situation would have ever become if we had just left it alone. We kind of are in a situation right now to where we really can't walk off, and we either have to deal with this now or we walk away and this becomes a whole lot worse. So generally, I'm not, like, I'll be honest with y'all, I'll say this, I'm not a big fan of going into Venezuela and having to deal with the situation, but also we really don't have any other choice in the strategic big term or the big picture or in the long term picture. There really isn't any other choice rather than go in there and completely dismantle their current Maduro, or more so Chinese aligned government, and install a more American aligned government at the moment.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, at this point, I will agree with you. You kind of do have to take action at this point because they've started the ball rolling. You can't just go and airstrike the capital, because now that will obviously help mobilize people inside of Venezuela. Whoever was going to fight or was thinking about it, these U.S. strikes are going to pretty much motivate them to fight. So it's basically forcing some type of situation. It's just, you know, I just hope and pray that this does not turn into like a Vietnam 2.0 or something like.
Me too, bub. Me too. But if it does, I want to get fucking gold for it. If we're going to pay in blood for something, let's get some shit in return, so their deaths aren't in vain. Freedom isn't enough.
like this because it looks like, based on the predictions from analysts, that it has a very high likelihood of turning into that. Because, of course, the Venezuelans use very similar guerrilla tactics when it comes to fighting. And, of course, it's a jungle environment as well. So you have that going for them, and they know the environment very well. So that's something that's going to put the U.S. at a disadvantage.
Jerry Novo, bro, I live in Florida, although central, and I'm in state police. Still get some fed up shiz, but my father being a Miami cop in the 80s, the stories he could say to you, yeesh. Man, I remember the 80s, and oh, brother, I remember a lot about the 80s. I mean, that was like when stuff started to really transition. But yeah, freaking man, oh man. Although, I don't know how Florida in the 80s was. I know what Los Angeles in the 80s was like. It was both wonderfully great and horrifically bad. That's just how that shit went.
Advantage during a ground conflict. So I'm just hoping it doesn't get really long and drawn out. I'm hoping it doesn't, but at the same time, though, my hopes aren't very high.
I'll just say I watched someone get murdered in front of me when I was 7. California love.
Say my hopes are a little bit high to an extent because the situation with Venezuela is a lot different than what a lot of people are saying with Vietnam. Vietnam could be directly supplied in the Vietnam War. Actually, let me go get you all a map of the Vietnam War because the map was generally stable the whole time. Map of Vietnam War. Let me go see if I can show you all this here. Let's see here. So
He's about to talk about the logistics, just like I addressed earlier.
this would be North and South Vietnam, or let me go get a better one. Any larger one that we can get? Here we are. So here is North and South Vietnam. South Vietnam is in gray. North Vietnam is in red. And both of the Vietnams were divided at the 17th parallel. That's basically their version of the DMZ. Back then, the reason why Vietnam was incredibly difficult to fight is because the Soviet Union, which heavily backed North Vietnam, as well as the People's Republic of China, which also heavily backed Vietnam, had a direct land access into Vietnam through China, meaning that any sort of actual physical or monetary support to be provided to the the People's Republic of Vietnam, if I'm getting the name correct, could be provided directly over land, a lot like what we're doing in Ukraine right now. The United States could also access South Vietnam by sea, meaning that you could pretty much keep that conflict going indefinitely.
You know what? That is a perfect example to use, actually, is Ukraine. So what Vietnam was for us, that is what Ukraine is for Russians right now, for the most part. Trouble is that, you know, fighting on open plains, flat land, which most of Ukraine is, versus fighting in a jungle with plenty of cover and concealment, totally different thing. Entirely different thing. Jungle is so much harder to fight in than on some plains, but that works for and against you. Jerry Novo, there were so many machine guns and cocaine in Miami at one point. Miami PD didn't know what to do with it, so they would just keep dumping it in the ocean. Left my fuck. Oh my God. There's probably some gold-plated freaking Tommy guns at the bottom of that pit, wherever that was. You know what I'm saying? There's probably like a treasure trove of antiques from back then. Someone could just go grab and sift up from the ocean floor. Wherever it was, they did that. That sounds like a fun expedition nonetheless. You know, I just need to go and renew my deep water stuff. I just need to renew some certifications, and you know, I'll go drag the ocean floor for those fucking antiques. so I can sell them.
Logistically, because both sides had easy access to supply their force in the fight, or at least their forces that were involved in the conflict. With Venezuela, the situation is a lot different. They actually don't have a direct land connection with any country nearby that could provide any significant support to them to continue a resistance. Colombia may be the only country that might kind of swing that way to where they might want to provide some form of military support, but considering what happened to Maduro, I've got to be entirely honest with y'all, I think that they're probably going to make the decision in Colombia to just sit back and not get too heavily involved, lest U.S. intelligence knows that they're getting involved, and then Petro might just get grabbed in the middle of the night as well and end up disappearing in a special forces raid. So that might not be the smartest move for them. And
Jerry Novo. My dad kept a 60s 1911 and a Chinese AK. That is freaking glorious. A 60s 1911? Man. And a Chinese AK? I wonder if the AK even fired correctly. I mean, that would have been funny to kind of figure out. Just load of clips. Oh, let's see if it works. Yeah, no, but I'm serious. I mean, all those old antique guns, like from the 80s, freaking Call of Duty cultists would buy those suckers up for thousands. Pick up like 50 of them from the ocean floor. Freaking, let's say like 20 grand per piece. Shit. It's a lot of money.
that might not be the smartest move for self-preservation, at least for the leader of Colombia. Brazil won't get involved because Brazil has no way to actually supply Venezuela in any meaningful form. They have a border with Venezuela that's quite literally in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. There is no infrastructure in terms of roadways that makes its way from the the Brazilian populated centers to Venezuela by land, meaning that you would have to make extremely long, arduous, and difficult logistical operations through the Amazon to give the rebellion hardly any supplies at all.
Both still work, have them in the safe. Yo, God, that's great. That's freaking wonderful. You lucky bastard.
Even if Brazil wanted to support.
I wish I got to keep my 1911 that we had while I was in, but I got to keep other stuff when I retired. That's good enough. I can know what I got is good enough for my needs. I'll say that much. And I got to retire with my main service weapon, so that's always cool.
Them. Otherwise, you would have to fly it all in, and that would easily be seen by the United States and easily be turned away from Venezuelan airspace before it could ever arrive or drop anything off, meaning that in the long term, the Venezuelans being supported through arms or finance is pretty difficult in this situation. So while resistance could exist and permeate within the very fringe of the Amazon rainforest, because there's no further infrastructure inside the rainforest to keep a rebellion or resistance alive for a long time, they would probably die in the harsh conditions of the jungle with absolutely no support. They really don't have an ability to continue a resistance for incredibly long, at least based off of our current situation, unless if something changes drastically over, say, the next month or two.
The thing is that is some real dense bush. That shit is so thick in places, it's like a wall. I'm not even joking. This shit is so thick. How do I know? Because I've been there. That's how. God damn, it is tough to get through that brush. I swear to God. Let me see if I can find a good picture. Let's see if I can find a good picture. I mean, this is decent-ish, really. That's an okay spot to have a picture. Oh, fuck. What do I do now? Well, anyway, shit's thick as fuck, yo. Super. Oh my lord, I don't know what you are, but stop. Nope. Stop it. Stop. All right. You see this shit? Do you see this? Freaking bub. It's a wall. I swear to God. You can lay down in that stuff and someone can shoot rounds every which way direction. And they'd be lucky to hit you. I'm just saying. You can still get hit if there's saturation of fire. But yeah, and then see places like this. You got a Desert Storm Surplus 1911. Well, you got the Discord, right? Or are you even in the Discord now? I don't know if you have been. But yeah. Anyway, that's just to give people an idea of how tough it is to move through the jungle. It's not a joke.
So I think it wouldn't really turn. It would be a lot like a Vietnam for a little while, and I mean a short while, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, and then very sporadic resistance for the next 2 to 3 years. But that sporadic resistance could probably be dealt with by an interim government or a new U.S. government that had been installed inside of Venezuela without it being that big of an ordeal. So I don't think it will be that bad of a situation. It's not going to be ideal, folks. I'm just going to be upfront. This isn't even an ideal situation with what I'm explaining right now, but it's not going to turn into Vietnam 2.0, at least from what I could tell based off of where they could get supplied.
Let's just hope not. Let's hope that we're able to smash them real good and end it once and for all. There's going to be violence no matter what, but let's hope we can minimize it.
Because you always have to have a supplier.
Not. Yeah, I hope it doesn't, personally. Ideally, since we have gotten knee deep into this, we kind of have to finish it at this point. Hopefully it goes smoothly. It sounds like the U.S. is hell-bent on actually occupying the place. So hopefully it does go smoothly for the sake of everybody involved here, including the Venezuelans. Because like I've been seeing several people in the chat saying, there's a lot of Venezuelans actually celebrating the removal of Maduro. Now, once again...
The majority of Venezuelans are celebrating the removal of Maduro. The majority. Don't be doing this wishy-washy bullshit. It's the majority. I mean, I like these guys because they do good reporting for the most part. But goddamn, their Democrat just leaks through so fucking heavy.
Maduro has been captured, but Maduro's regime is still in place. So the job is not nearly finished. The head of the snake has been cut off, but the snake is literally still occupying the whole country. So they got to deal with that. And the Venezuelans appear to be happy about this whole situation going down. It's actually the complete opposite of what some people would have expected. The Venezuelans hated Maduro for the most part, and they wanted to get him up out of there. So the U.S. did that, and they're happy about it. But at the same time, though, another issue that we have to deal with here is the opposition leader, the one who was supposed to be taking charge of Venezuela after the whole situation came to a stop. She essentially got conned at this point because it was believed that she would be installed after Maduro was removed. Now we're hearing from the U.S. officials that they think she's too weak to lead, which is a bit of a shock. So I think she's out of country. I think she's in Europe right now, and she's apparently not the U.S. Pick for taking charge of Venezuela. So I don't know what's happening with that. They seem to have sort of thrown her to the curb all of a sudden this morning. So I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, no offense, but seeing what's going on with Claudia Scheinbaum, I don't think that this woman's a Maloney. Or heck, even the head of the AFD, really. I don't think she compares. That's my immediate opinion. Honestly, though, giving them pretty much anybody, I mean, I hope she's popular. I don't know if she is. But hopefully she's popular. Maybe we could use her as like a last resort. But they really do need somebody strong. They need a Nayib Bukele. You know what I mean? They need a Nayib Bukele, not a freaking opposition leader that's, female. Nah, none of that feminism crap. No. Positively not. No, thank you. They do need somebody strong.
Sure who they're planning to pick to run Venezuela, but apparently it's not going to be her at least.
Yeah, I would have to say that was quite a bizarre sort of a move, folks, because the U.S. has been heavily behind Maria Corina Machado and her move to try and take over Venezuela through some sort of either a public revolution like we're seeing in Iran or through some form of an armed overthrow that the U.S. might conduct. And now at the very at the 11th hour, or the 13th hour, if you want to put it that way, they have now stated that she's too weak to lead the country, meaning that the opposition leader that we have actually groomed here in the United States to take the position of the president of Venezuela once this was successful has now been thrown out at the last minute. So I don't really know who in the world we would be trying to support as the next leader of Venezuela, but that is an incredibly odd sort of a move to make, considering that we've actually conducted the overthrow, well, not really the overthrow, but at least the deposition of Maduro, and we're possibly on our way to sweeping away the rest of the Venezuelan government. And at that very moment, when we generally need to make sure that our leader, our chosen leader, will be the one to go in and take their place, we're now throwing them out and apparently have no actual candidate at the moment. So I would say that's quite peculiar, or very strange to say the least.
Yeah, I would say so. So I'm not really
I mean, if we must, better than nothing, honestly, but we got to move fast. We got to strike like lightning, hit hard, and then start immediate secondary measures. If we're not fast enough on this, there's going to be hell to pay.
Sure who they're going to pick. We have heard that the U.S. officials say, because during this presidential speech that was made today about Venezuela, the president pointed to the people standing behind him and said, these are the guys that are going to be running Venezuela. He pointed to Marco Rubio behind him, who I think that's his 7th job at this point, so he's a little bit busy. Also, I think he pointed to Hegseth and a couple of people behind him and said, they're going to be running Venezuela. So I'm assuming, I'm not sure how long they're going to be in charge of the country, but I guess they're preferring to put our own people in charge of that country instead of letting the opposition leader simply take immediate charge of the country, which
honestly, that actually doesn't sound like too bad of an idea if we're going to be involved at this deeply. Sometimes you just got to do things yourself. That might actually be better. You know, it would be funny as hell. You know, it would be hilarious if we made Venezuela the 51st state. That would be absolutely hilarious. Because then just all the agencies would go nuts immediately. They'd be like, oh, it's a state now, huh? That means it's federal property. That means all of us can go in now, right? And it's like, oh, shit. Oh, man. Anyway, let's continue.
Seems a bit odd. It seems very odd to me that they would do that, because I think this lady just won the Nobel Peace Prize for her work against Maduro. So she's being just totally kicked to the curb for whatever reason. So I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, and also, by the way, speaking of those statements, it actually sounds like at the moment the U.S. government is actually planning on running a military occupation of Venezuela and having a military governor declared within the area. That could be a commander of, say, U.S. Southcom or the Secretary of Defense, or it may even be the Secretary of State. Because in prior times, like for example at the end of World War II, we actually made Douglas MacArthur the governor of occupied Japan for a while in the midst of our occupation, which lasted in Japan for around 10 years.
MacArthur was right. That's all I gotta say.
After World War II from 1945 to 1955. So it actually sounds like, at least based off of that statement, they're planning on running Venezuela as a military occupation zone. And the best way I can describe this, folks, is either by that World War II example of Douglas MacArthur being the occupational governor of Japan, or Edward Stanton being the occupational governor of the defeated Confederate States of the United States of America at the end of the U.S. Civil War, which was also a similar incident to the one that we would be seeing about right now. So I'm guessing that's what they're going for, which is quite interesting to say the least. And I would be entirely honest with y'all, if the U.S. public, folks, half the U.S. public either loves the current government that's in charge or hates it, imagine having an unelected representation of that very same government, the half of the people in the country like and hate here that actually voted for them, and then you don't even vote for them, and then they're running your country for an indefinite period of time. I've got to be entirely honest with y'all. I don't really know if that's going to turn out winning the hearts and minds of the Venezuelan people.
Well, the thing is that, like I said already, right now, it'll be hard to fuck this up. The Venezuelan people want us there. They look forward to having us there. They want to work for us. And all of them are like, hey, come get our oil, and in exchange, please freaking help us. You know? I fucking love them for that. I love them for that. They're great. Right? But freaking, it would be hilarious if they became the 51st state. Just like, oh, shit. Anyway, but yeah, it would be really hard to screw this up, whoever is put in charge. It would be so tough to the people want us. They love us. They're like, Americans, come and conquer us. We have oil. They're making memes about it. And they're hilarious. I saw a bunch of them on X where they were making memes of like, you know, them like putting up signs saying, we have oil, now come invade us, or some shit like that. And it's like, oh, brother. It's great. I freaking love it. Come take our oil. Help us. Necesito ayuda. Ahora.
That might actually end up making them a little bit angrier and might even continue on any form of armed resistance or any form of resistance for some time longer due to their animosity from that action. But with that in mind, we do also have an additional question to all of y'all about what in the world was the real reason behind the U.S. attack on Venezuela and the capturing of Maduro last night. And Matthew, what are people thinking about that? And what are you thinking about that as well?
All right. So there was obviously an ulterior reason why Venezuela was attacked and also now going to be occupied. I think it's become clear at this point that there was a secondary main reason behind the official narrative. So what do you think? 47% said it was all about capturing the oil fields. That was the real motivation behind this attack, while 37% said it was always about curbing China and Russia influence, and only 8% said it was about drug intervention. And that was the official narrative.
Well, the thing is that it was technically actually all about everything at once. It's just so happened to be convenient that what we wanted was in the hands of the enemy. Pretty much it. They're making a lot more out of this than should be done. But it just so happened there was an absolutely convenient reason, an excuse, to be the world's police force. So we, America, fuck you at it, and here we are. This is freaking great. I love it.
The official narrative was we were going down to Venezuela because they were sending fentanyl and also tons of cocaine to the United States. That is a true claim, by the way. I'm not saying that's false, but Venezuela is one piece of a much larger narco-terrorist network, and Venezuela is not the only country doing that. So we always questioned that narrative. We always said it really didn't make much sense. And
well, the thing is that if you take Venezuela and it becomes an anti-narco country, like through and through, like militarized to all fuck, right? Everybody's militia, everybody's military, everybody's police, and everything. If that's what happens with Venezuela, you drive the absolute biggest freaking wedge into the drug trafficker, underground criminal organizational world throughout all of history. Both geographically and metaphorically. right? Because then, well, that helps a lot of things. First, logistically, because if we're able to put bases there and use local resources, all the narcos in the rest of South America, period, the continent, are absolutely fucked. Period. They're not coming back from that shit, right? You put a few military bases in Venezuela and the Navy in port there. Oh, shit. You could invade all the rest of South America with what we could put there. So, yeah, I'm just saying, if we take Venezuela, that's a big, giant, freaking, like, metal, long, hard, sharp at one end, with a freaking mallet straight in the anal cavity of the criminal underground. I'm just saying. That's what's going on.
We really didn't buy it. So we've been saying that a while, but we've also, at the same time, we didn't necessarily agree with the idea it was about capturing oil fields. I didn't think it was about that personally. I thought it was more about curbing Russian and Chinese influence. But it turns out during the presidential speech today, it became blatantly obvious that the reason why we went down to Venezuela was mainly about the oil fields. And that was literally the highlight of the presidential speech today, was about going back down there and recapturing the oil fields that were stolen from the United States oil corporations. So we're going to be apparently investing billions of dollars to reopen these dilapidated facilities to extract the oil, and we're trying to keep the oil away from Russia and China, so that way we can corner basically the largest oil fields in the world, which is in Venezuela. So that is the real motivation.
Well, you got to think, we're spending billions to make possibly, potentially, in today's economy, quadrillions. That would be another way for us to pay down our national debt, wouldn't it? And depending on how much that shit churns out and what we do with it and who takes it and who doesn't, freaking hell, man, Venezuela might be the literal key, which is funny because the nation of Venezuela is shaped like a key. It's kind of funny. Could be the literal key to solving the U.S. debt. Isn't all of this just so incredibly convenient, though? It's almost like somebody planned it.
And I actually did not believe that, but at this point, I can officially say all the people that believe that, you were actually 100% correct. But Enforcer, what say you?
It all comes back to oil, and I gotta be honest with y'all, I did not believe that that would be the real reason why we would be doing anything to Venezuela. I mean, if you asked me, folks, it would be clear and obvious to me that if we took any action against Venezuela, it would be to curb the Russian and Chinese influence today, basically exclusively. We didn't say anything about curbing Russian or Chinese influence. As a matter of fact, we actually said that China would be able to get some of the oil out of Venezuela as well. And at that point, I'm like, well, apparently this whole thing was just to go get, I guess, Exxon or someone down in Venezuela. We want to curb, like, as on a strategic level, anyone.
Jerry Novo, most of the drugs come from Colombia, but there's not a lot of resources there to justify invasion, unless you count Colombian women and their food as a resource. Well, I mean, I like me some Colombiana, you know what I'm saying? But, right, Colombian soil is actually pretty fertile. So if you properly cultivate the soil in Colombia, you can grow a lot of stuff. Or at least last time I knew anything about Colombia, which is a long time ago. I mean, it does have a coast. I don't know if it's like deep water coast worthy, though. I'm not sure. But I mean, hey, if it was me, if it was up to me, I'd be like, well, women are a resource. We'll get some Colombian women for all the poor, lonely Western dudes who have to deal with Western females, and be like, hey, sign up for the army and we'll give you a Colombian wife. Or something like that. That's what I'd do. And then we can swap out the Western females for non-Western females.
And rather than the United States generally being the dominant sphere or contesting a sphere of influence in the Americas, it's a strategic prerogative of the United States that we keep our home front incredibly stable and not allow anyone to be here. That's why when the Soviets started to back Cuba back in the Cold War, that was a humongous ordeal because it's literally a Soviet fortress right in the middle of the Americas. That's not a great strategic position to be in. Venezuela is also quite similar to that, especially in the modern day and age with how long-range missiles can be, and also with the fact that it could be used as a naval support station for the Russians or the Chinese. It's an incredibly big deal to make sure that a country like that is not Russian or Chinese aligned, literally 1,000 miles away from the United States. But instead,
I am pretty sure that the Soviets actually did try to send submarines down to Cuba at one point, and they screwed that shit all the way up. So even at the height of their supposed power, the Soviets were not very good at a lot. I'm just saying that. How the Russian military is doing right now is pretty much not too far off from how the Russian military always has been doing. I swear to God with these people.
for some reason, our top priority wasn't to stop the Chinese and Russians from building a fortress within our backyard. Oh, that's kind of cliche for that one. And state that I was wrong. It apparently was not for curbing Chinese Venezuela. Instead, moving on from that, though, we do have to get back down into the area around Venezuela, within Southcom's area of responsibility, because we have a lot to cover down here, and I'm going to be showing y'all some very interesting information that we've gotten over the course of the day. For one, we did get to see the return of multiple aircraft returning to Roosevelt Roads within Puerto Rico, including this F-35 Lightning, or several F-35s that were seen landing at Roosevelt Roads. We believe that these are operated by the United States Marine Corps. Well, we also were able to see an incredibly rare RQ-170 returning as well, but we won't be able to really show that clip either. The RQ-170 is quite exceptional. It is a stealth reconnaissance drone that actually used at least one 60th SOAR went in with Special Operations Forces to capture Maduro. We additionally were able to hear that at some point some Special Operations Forces had been wounded in the midst of the ongoing firefights that were conducted in the attempt to capture Maduro, and we did see that a medevac aircraft, a Boeing C-17 Globemaster, took off today near to Charleston and actually was en route to Aguadilla, which is on the northwestern side of the island of Puerto Rico.
They must have had to search for him. Jerry Novo, negative Ghost Rider. Every Colombian woman I've met tried to fatten me up. Everyone in the army would gain 30 pounds within the first month of marriage. Well, I'll tell you this much. With how much the army works out now, I don't think that'll be an issue. Plus, if they make the food from scratch, none of the bloating. You might actually lose weight, right? Every time I've gone overseas and I've eaten food in places like Singapore or Japan or, South America or, anywhere in Asia, quite a few places in Europe too, I would end up losing weight. Even though I'm eating all the same stuff, I would end up losing weight every time. And when I came back to the U.S. is when I packed on the pounds. The fact our food is so horrible, that actually makes a lot of sense. But with how people are like working out now in the army, and there's a lot of food being changed, and there's more organic food available, I could actually see people like not even packing pounds on much. Although I could be wrong.
Apparently on a medevac flight. That suggests to us to at least some special operations.
Prayers for our brothers who got wounded. I'm pretty sure they're going to be okay from what I know. But there's always a chance there's something else that happens.
Operations Forces operators were actually wounded in the midst of the actions conducted against Maduro's regime, but we have not been able to hear of any confirmed deaths, at least in terms of the U.S. forces that were involved in the raid. Moving us on out of Puerto Rico and on down into Venezuela, we have also been able to get a lot of news from inside of Venezuela as well, following up with everything that we were able to see yesterday. Fortunately, folks, we actually got footage of the exfiltration of the 160th SOAR after they had been able to successfully capture Nicolas Maduro.
Ooh, we're going to get to see the Night Stalkers in action. Those guys are so good. I love the Night Stalkers.
From the footage that we see here, which has unfortunately been removed, we actually were able to see some of the MH-60 Blackhawks of the 160th along with the CH-47Gs apparently barreling their way out of the city towards the northwest, heading back towards the mountains and back towards the open ocean, back to the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group. It was incredibly interesting to note because that is the only footage that we have at this moment of the exfiltration after Maduro had successfully been captured. Outside of that, we also were able to confirm towards the area of Fort Tiuna that there was a decent amount of damage that was caused within this area. For one, we were able to see more footage of the AH-1Zs engaging the fort, which we could see in this clip right here. It's fairly similar footage to what we saw last time. It's basically the direct Hydra rocket strikes that were conducted by the helicopters, which y'all are about to see in the clip right here. Or, oh wait, sorry, correction folks. It's actually right here. There you go, there's the rocket strikes.
You know, you got to admit, even if you don't support what's happening in Venezuela right now, like you have to give a big, I guess you could say, credit to the armed forces of America. I mean, our armed forces are extremely competent. Like nobody in the world can even come close to how competent our people are. The fact that they were.
And this is coming from a Democrat, by the way. These guys are Democrats. This is coming from Democrats who hate the military. And here they are. Holy shit, dude. Although seeing Z like shoot some shit, it's pretty cool too.
Able to extract
It's not too dissimilar from the Apache.
Maduro from a highly guarded presidential compound like they did last night with 0 casualties. That was like something out of a James Bond movie or something. That most people don't even realize how much of an expertise that takes to pull something like that off. That most countries wouldn't even attempt to try to do something like that because they know how disastrous that could end up. And also, I mean, they laid waste to all the air defenses. Russia pumped about $6 billion+ into air defense for Venezuela over the last few months, and it was basically just wiped out last night in one fell swoop by the United States forces. So, I mean, they really kicked ass. So whether or not this turns out good in the end, that's another question. But
A little mistake in there because he said no other country would even dare to try this. There is actually a country that has been in our news coverage pretty much every day for years now that has tried this not once, but at least 2 to 3 times at this point. And Matthew, you know who it is. It's the Russians. And they've tried this against Zelensky at least one time that we can confirm, which was on February 24th of 2022, when the Russian Federation's VDV forces were attempting to take Hostomel. There were also some Russian hit teams that had actually been sent directly into Kyiv to attempt an assassination on Zelensky and conduct a decapitation strike against the Ukrainian government on day one. I will tell y'all, folks,
Really?
I remember, remember that? We actually showed the foot. Well, actually, you weren't on.
And those guys got slaughtered. So much for the freaking Russian special forces. You know, like, I swear to God.
On the show yet, Matthew. You didn't see that footage, but the Ukrainians literally chased these guys down the street.
All right, I think that's all for the Venezuela news. That being said, Venezuela libre. Venezuela libre. Ahora. All right. So, yeah, that's about it. Thank y'all for joining me. It's good to see you, Jerry. It was good to see you, Commander Wolf. And everybody else, I appreciate you checking in. Next chance I get, I'm going to see what's going on next with Venezuela, because it would be lovely to return there. That also being said, you know what time it is. Anybody else got anything for me? If you're on the Discord, hit me up. I'm going to go play some games. Hasta la vista. 12 sueños, mijas y mijos.